Luckily for the Brewers, bullpen and pitching development at the major league level is a strength.
Here we go. Curt Hogg joining us, Brewers beat reporter from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, a regular on FT. Curt, great to have you on. Before we begin our storyline expedition, did you have a conversation with the great Pat Murphy?
So I'm actually still in Wisconsin. I don't go down to spring training for a couple weeks with the way we have it set up. So the crew that's down there, Adam McCalvey, Todd Rosiak, all those fellas, they did have a chat with Pat Murphy. Uh, so I'm sure that was a good time. Anytime you talk ball with Murph after not doing it for 4 or 5 months, I'm sure there were some there were some Murphisms that came out for sure. But no, I got snow out my window here.
Beautiful. And your hat's backwards. I appreciate you making the adjustment.
Yeah, well, if I put it forward, this is actually a Peter Strzelecki hat. He's not with the Brewers anymore, but he has a hat apparel brand, and he donates the money to good cause, childhood cancer research. So I think he's with the Pirates now. He's in the division, but a good dude in baseball. So shout out to Striz.
Replacing all-stars. Devin Williams, the back end of the bullpen, Willy Adames, the spark, the homers, just the consistency that he was bringing. Chourio, part 2. He was so good starting in June. Will that continue, or could there be a sophomore slump where the league gets to study him all offseason? Christian Yelich is back. He was really good last year when he was on the field. And after another great regular season performance, the Brewers disappointed in the playoffs pretty early too. Some people thought they would move along a little bit more than they did, including myself. But anyway, let's start at the top here. How are they going to replace Willy Adames and Devin Williams? What's the plan? Like literally replace the home run production, the spark plug, the high leverage innings.
I feel like we're going back to Moneyball a little bit here, right? Where how are we going to replace 4 wins from Willy Adames, 30 homers at shortstop, a position where guys don't hit 30 homers, and then Devin Williams, who you could argue I'd probably put Class A at the top of that class in that list of best closers in baseball. But boy, oh boy, if he's not top 3, I don't know what sport you're watching. So yeah, that's difficult. Luckily for the Brewers, bullpen and pitching development at the major league level is a strength. So in that deal, they got Nestor Cortez back to bolster a rotation that like, surprisingly for the Brewers, they did need help in the rotation. So they are dealing with from a strength in the bullpen. But at shortstop, look, Scott, there's a question here that I still don't know the full answer to. I mean, we know who the people are, the players are, the bodies are that are in camp. Caleb Durbin will get a chance to get some at bats in the infield. Oliver Dunn's another guy. Bryce Terang and Joey Ortiz had pretty good freshman and sophomore campaigns last year. Terang won the Platinum Glove, so they'll be at some position in the infield depending on how they want to maneuver things around. But yeah, that's going to be a big challenge. They're looking to replace those guys basically completely from internal players, and that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you consider like the Brewers have yet to make a guaranteed free agent signing anywhere on the team. They really haven't made an addition to the offense anywhere. Now they had a good offense last year, so maybe they'll bank on that to be solid again this year. But yeah, you're hoping for kind of how it was last year, where you have a lot of these very high variance players, and it works out internally where some of them take those steps forward, and you're not going to be replacing Willy Adames's 4.5 wins at shortstop, but maybe it can come from somewhere else.
It's a lot to ask for. Now, people on this show know that I was behind Jackson Chourio to get more love for the National League Rookie of the Year. I know he got off to a slow start, but if you look at his numbers from about June 1st to the end of the year, they were unbelievable. This kid was unbelievable. Now, it took Paul Skeens to have an unbelievable year, and Jackson Merrill, obviously, with the big home runs and big hits. But can Jackson Chourio be better? Not by better, I mean, can he just do what he did basically the last 4 months for a whole year? Because if he does that, there's some wins for you. There's over 800 plus OPS, right? There's homers, there's batting average, there's stolen bases, good defense in the outfield. I mean, can this guy take the next step to be the star the Brewers are counting on?
Yeah, for sure he can. And the Brewers are, like you said, they're counting on that. They're banking on him delivering and providing production, not only with the power, but the speed, the average. And his defense kind of took some surprising steps forward too last year after he was a little shaky early on in the year. Now, like, we all know that development doesn't happen on a straight line. There's downs, and we don't know exactly how it's going to play out for Chourio in year two. I mean, the kid is still not 21 years old, so it's not going to surprise me. It probably shouldn't surprise a ton of people if he does struggle a little bit again in 2025. But at the end of the day, and this is, I think, what the Brewers are banking on a little bit too, is like, this is not your average 21-year-old. This is a one of a kind talent who, as we saw in the playoffs against the Mets, like, he loves the big moment. He's just wired a little bit differently, and it kind of gives you a little more optimism than your average young kid that he's gonna just be able to tear the league up. So I'm personally expecting really big things out of him. Pat Murphy's expecting big things out of him. The Brewers are expecting big things out of him. And yeah, they're going to need it because, like we just talked about, they lost Adames, they lost Devin Williams, and they haven't added a ton from free agency or trades this winter.
Since breaking his kneecap, Christian Yelich took a decline, obviously, but since he's gotten to the point where he felt like he was healthy, he has done nothing but continue to improve all of his rate stats, all of his peripheral numbers. Can he continue that this year and stay on the field for 162 games?
Yeah, well, the question is how the back's going to hold up after the back surgery this offseason. But Kratz, you know what it looks like when Christian Yelich is playing at an MVP or a very close to MVP level. You got a good seat to that. And last year, when Christian Yelich was healthy, he may not have quite been at that insane of a level, like not a Shohei Ohtani level. But I mean, the guy was an all-star starter. He was OPSing around 1,000. When healthy, and then kind of took a little bit of a dip as he was trying to play through the back injury that ended up costing him a season. So the last couple of years, when we've seen Yelich healthy, he has been one of the best hitters still in the National League. Now, yeah, the question is going to be about the back, because back surgeries are not exactly straightforward. Back injuries are not exactly straightforward. But the Brewers are going to be able, they have a lot of outfield depth. So they'll be able to get him a lot of days off his feet at catcher, or not a catcher, designated hitter. They'll also have catcher Willie Contreras, and Rhys Hoskins will split time there as well. But if he's able to stay healthy, for sure, I see no reason why he can't be a mid 800s OPS guy, still steal 20 bases, depending on how much rigor they're going to want him to put on the body in the field. But he's been really good. He started the All-Star game just last year.
True. Let's not go back to last year, because Brewers fans, they don't want to remember how last year ended. But the Pete Alonso homer off Devin Williams on a pitch that he never gives up a home run to. But it's been kind of the story of the Brewers. They overachieve every year, or at least we think they overachieve. If you look at their preseason projections, they make the playoffs, and then they make an early exit. How can this team take the next step and get to the next round, the LCS, possibly a World Series, with the roster they have? Do they need to add, et cetera? But what's the way the Brewers and the Brewers fans can get to the next step?
Yeah, it's really been challenging to watch the Brewers in the postseason if you're a fan the last few years. The way that Game 3 ended in the wild card round was just an unfathomable experience, really, just like seeing how the ballpark reacted to finally feeling like, hey, these guys are going to take the next step. Jake Bauers hit the go-ahead homer in a do-or-die game. Sal Frelick hit a homer in a do-or-die game. And then the best closer in the National League had the worst outing of his career. And that feels like how it's gone the last few years for the Brewers. And this is ultimately the question that I think the Brewers and Brewers fans are facing, is like, the plan is clearly working. They've made it to the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years. They've cruised to 2 straight division titles. Now going into this year again, people are probably going to be picking the Cubs, and I think rightfully so. Their roster on paper certainly looks better, and they're in the mix they got Kyle Tucker, they're in the mix for high-end free agents or higher-end free agents, and the Brewers really haven't spent any money this offseason. So I think if you're looking at, in terms of taking the next step, the lack of spending doesn't make you feel great about the ability to do that. But what kind of overrides that, I think, maybe in your mind, is well, they've been able to do what they're doing without spending a ton. Their player development has taken extreme strides forward. They draft well. They scout well. Their international signings are starting to jump off the charts. So whether it's this year or next year or the year after, you feel good about the Brewers still being in the mix, despite the fact that they're at the low end of the free agent spending totem pole. And maybe, just maybe, one of these years it'll work out. Although after the way that Mets series and that Alonso homer happened and ended, I can understand if people are like, yeah, no, it's doomed. It's not going to happen.
How much more of a storyline would it be? The Brewers win the World Series, and Uke is watching from above.
Yeah, pretty sweet, pretty sweet. I mean, this year's gonna be strange. Not seeing Bob at the ballpark, not hearing his voice. As you walk throughout the concourse at the stadium, as they pipe in the radio on the speakers. Just a strange feeling to like have baseball here, and what we have of Uke is the memories, and the Brewers are wearing a shoulder patch on their jerseys for him. So like those guys will for sure be playing for Uke this year, especially the ones that have been around for a while: Yelich, Freddie, Woody, Pat Murphy, and him are obviously very close too. So like if you've been in the Brewers organization for a day, you met Bob Uecker, you understand how important he was to the team. And even though he's not physically going to be around, like that's how special he was, that his presence is going to be felt every day still.
Curt, thank you so much for the time. And we're all thinking about Bob Uecker throughout this season. And hopefully you get out of the frigid temperatures very soon. Okay. Yeah.
Soon. We got sun down there.
Fingers crossed for you, dude. Arizona
Yes,
a little bit better this time of year. Good to see you, dude. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content. We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.